First, welcome to the video. Today we'll demystify why the employer name on your W-2 can differ from the company you believe you worked for. We will explain common reasons, how the IRS views these discrepancies, and the exact steps to take if something looks off. We'll also use clear diagrams and quick quizzes to lock in the essentials. Now, let's begin. Next, here is our agenda. We will start with W-2 basics, move into name mismatch reasons, compare PEOs versus direct employers, clarify what the IRS prioritizes, walk through a step-by-step action plan, and then reinforce learning with quizzes. Finally, we will summarize key points and provide an important disclaimer. To begin, let's clarify what a Form W-2 actually represents. The W-2 is a tax document that reports your taxable wages and withholding amounts for the year. It is linked to a specific legal entity identified by an Employer Identification Number, or EIN. Importantly, the legal entity name on your W-2 of may differ from the brand or trade name you see on signs, pay stubs, or websites. This difference can result from corporate structures, administrative arrangements, or payroll outsourcing. With that context in place, we can better understand why names sometimes don't match your expectations. Now let's explore why employer names differ. First, corporate restructurings, mergers, or acquisitions can cause a different legal entity to be responsible for payroll and tax reporting. Second, you may be employed by a subsidiary while recognizing the parent brand, or vice versa. Third, many companies use professional employer organizations, or PEOs, which can serve as the statutory employer for payroll and tax remittance across multiple clients. Fourth, your workplace may operate under a trade name, while the W-2 must list the actual legal entity. Fifth, mid-year acquisitions or rebrandings can change the reporting entity without immediately changing the public-facing brand. Sixth, administrative service organizations can centralize payroll, causing a different name to appear. Finally, sometimes it's simply a clerical error, and you would need a corrected W-2, known as a W-2C. Then, let's compare PEOs to direct employers. In a PEO or administrative services model, the PEO acts as the statutory employer for payroll taxes and thus issues the W-2 with its legal entity name and EIN. This is standard and not inherently suspicious. In contrast, with a direct employer, the company you recognize handles payroll itself, and the W-2 will typically list that company's legal entity and EIN. Even in direct models, there may be parent or affiliate entities that appear depending on corporate structure. Understanding this distinction helps explain why a seemingly unfamiliar name can appear on a W-2 without indicating fraud. Furthermore, the IRS primarily focuses on the Employer Identification Number, your taxable wages in Box 1, your federal withholding in Box 2, and accurate employee information, including Social Security number. The IRS systems reconcile the EIN with the amounts reported. If the EIN and figures are right, a discrepancy in the employer name, by itself, generally will not prevent you from filing. Nevertheless, you should verify that the name and EIN are intentional and accurate to avoid downstream issues. Next, follow this step-by-step process. First, remain calm and collect your W-2, last pay stub, and any relevant HER or payroll emails. Second, verify the EIN on the W-2 against a pay stub or official employer communications. Third, check that Box 1 wages and Box 2 federal withholding align with your records. Fourth, contact payroll or HAR to confirm whether the listed entity and EIN are intentional, such as due to a PEO, affiliate, or parent entity. Fifth, document your interactions, including dates, names, and outcomes. Sixth, if the EIN or figures are incorrect, request a corrected W-2, known as a W-2C, as soon as possible. Seventh, if you cannot obtain a correction by your filing deadline, consider using Form 4852, the substitute W-2, after making good faith efforts, and consult a qualified tax professional. Additionally, here is a concise checklist you can follow. Verify that the EIN on the W-2 matches employer records or your pay stub. Confirm Box 1 wages and Box 2 withholding align with your final pay records. Ensure your personal information, including your name, address, and social security number, is accurate. Request a W-2C if the EIN or figures are wrong, or if there are clerical errors that impact reporting. Keep evidence such as email confirmations, call notes with dates and names, and screenshots of employer portals or pay stubs. This documentation can be critical if you need to escalate or later reconcile discrepancies. Now, a quick quiz. If the W-2 shows a different employer name than expected, which field matters most to the IRS for matching the wage report? Option A, the Employer Identification Number, or EIN. Option B, the company slogan on the W-2. Option C, the office street address. Option D, the logo printed on the pay stub. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is the Employer Identification Number. The EIN is the key data point the IRS uses to match employer wage reports. If the EIN and the reported figures are accurate, a discrepancy in the employer name alone typically will not block your filing. Next quiz. Your W-2 shows an unfamiliar employer name and the EIN does not match your pay stub. What is the best next step? Option A, ignore it and file anyway. Option B, call HR or payroll to confirm and request a corrected W-2, a W-2C if it is an error. Option C, change the name yourself on your tax return. Option D, shred the W-2 and wait for another one. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is to call HR or payroll to confirm and request a corrected W-2, known as a W-2C, if it is an error. It is important to verify intent first, because the name may be correct if a PEO or affiliate is involved. If not, seek a correction and document your communications. After that, consider this timeline. In the first quarter, a company may handle payroll directly. In the second quarter, the company could sign with a PEO, shifting statutory employer responsibilities. In the third quarter, a merger or acquisition might finalize, changing the legal payroll entity and possibly the EIN. By the fourth quarter and year-end, the W-2 may be issued by the PEO or a new legal entity with a different EIN, even though employees still see the same brand at work. This sequence explains how W-2 names can shift without fraudulent intent. Additionally, here is a table of common scenarios. In a PEO arrangement, the W-2 will list the PEO's legal entity and its EIN. Verify and file if amounts are correct. If you are employed by a subsidiary, the W-2 will reflect the subsidiary's legal name and EIN. Confirm with HR if you are unsure. In a mid-year merger, a new parent or affiliate name and a new EIN may appear. Check figures and request a W-2C only if they are wrong. When a trade name differs from the legal name, the legal entity will appear with a correct EIN. Proceed if the amounts and EIN match. If there is a clerical error, both the name and EIN may be incorrect. Request a W-2C immediately. If you cannot obtain a correction by the filing deadline, consider Form 4852 and consult a tax professional. Moving on, remember these key points. First, do not panic because employer name differences frequently have legitimate explanations. Second, the EIN and accurate figures generally matter more than the public-facing brand name. Third, always verify the EIN and amounts with payroll or HR. Fourth, request a W-2C if the EIN or numbers are incorrect. Fifth, if the issue remains unresolved near your filing deadline, consider Form 4852 and consult a tax professional. Finally, please note this important disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or financial advice. Your situation may differ, and you should consult a qualified tax professional who can provide guidance based on your specific facts and jurisdiction. In summary, recognize that W-2 employer name differences often arise from PEO arrangements, mergers, or legal versus trade name distinctions. Focus on the EIN and the amounts in Box 1 and Box 2. Verify details with payroll or HR, and request a W-2C if you find errors. Use Form 4852 852 only, after making good faith efforts to obtain a correction, and consider professional assistance. Keep thorough records of your checks and communications. As a final note, thank you for watching. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe for more clear explainers. We would love to hear your questions and experiences in the comments.